Okay, the next tool that I want to go over is this shape tool right here. All right, the first thing to note is that if you see a little gray arrow here, it means that there's multiple things that you can select. So if you click and hold down, you'll see that there's a bunch of things that you can select in here, okay? There's only 2 shape tools that have a quick key. So if I'm on another key, I can use M to get the rectangle tool. So now I'm drawing a rectangle, or I can get L, and that gets me the ellipse tool, and I can draw an ellipse, okay? So if I'm clicking here and I'm dragging to get a rectangle, the first thing you should note is that to get a perfect square, you can hold down the shift key right here and click and drag, okay? One thing, I sort of got ahead of myself. There's 2 ways to make shapes. The first way is to just click and drag and kind of eyeball things, okay? So here I'm clicking and dragging, just making a bunch of rectangles here. If I want to make a square, of course, as I click and drag, I hold down my shift key. That's a square. If I want to get to my ellipse tool, I can press the L key, L for ellipse. It kind of sounds like an L, even though it starts with an E. If I get an ellipse tool, I can make an ellipse like that, or I can make an ellipse that has the same vertical and horizontal distance across, which is a circle. So you hold down the shift key and you make a circle like that. Okay, so that's one way to make shapes. There's a bunch of shapes you can make here. I can hold down the star shape and a click and drag and I make a star like that. Okay. Another way that you can do it is that if you click on it, so let me use the ellipse tool one more time, and if you just click the workspace, what happens is you get this little box here, all right? And that will allow you to actually to key in the precise amount that you want. So let's say that I want an ellipse that it's 3 by like 9, okay? And you'll see what that looks like. Okay, so it's 3 across the horizontal, 9 inches across the vertical. Or if I want a perfect circle, I could do that. I could draw a perfect circle like that. That's, the same distance horizontally and vertically. Okay. If I wanted a rectangle that's, a really particular size, I could do that. So you just select the tool and then click on the workspace. If I wanted a star with a certain amount of points, I would just click, and here I have my star. If I said like 9 here and 1 here, you'll see what this means. And let's say I want a bunch of different points. Okay, so 9 is the diameter of the radius, 1 is the diameter of, not the diameter of the radius, the diameter of the object inside. It actually looks like the radius of the circle inside created by the points inside, and 9 is the radius of the points on the outside. And if you wanted to select any of these points and kind of draw one in, you would get the direct selection tool and just draw one of these points in if you want. So that's a combination of the 2 tools that we have.
Hello everyone. I wanted to update this to the newer version, so I'm adding this section of the video afterwards. It used to be that if you clicked here on the older version of Adobe Illustrator, you would have an option of rounded rectangle, which gives the corners a border radius. You guys you've seen that before in web design, where you've added it to the CSS, but it isn't there any longer. For some reason, it doesn't come default in there. So if you click on these 3 dots and you hit rounded rectangle, you're going to click and drag it and drop it into this menu. Okay, and now let's see if I can get rid of this. Okay, if I just click on the 3 dots, it goes away. Now it is part of the tools that you can grab. So if you have a rounded rectangle, you're going to click and drag it, and the edges are going to have a little border radius. And it looks like you can change the corner radius if you wanted to, and that would change. Let's see what that did. So if you double click on it, you should be able to, or if you have it selected, sometimes if you double click, you get into a layer. Go back out. Okay, I'm on the rounded rectangle. I'm going to click on the artboard, and if you click on it, I'm able to input some values here. Now, in Gravit, which I have behind here, it's a lot easier to make a rounded rectangle. If I click here, I click and drag, and it gives me the option here. There's a slider where I can change it, or I can input the value in here. So if I put 4 in, it looks like the values are a lot different though than I don't know what it's basing it on, but 4 appears to be like the highest number. So it's like decimal values here as opposed to an Adobe Illustrator that are whole number values. So I'm not really sure what that is, but you can just use the slider and figure it out. And then if you wanted to make another rectangle with the same border radius so that it fits together, you can make another rectangle like this. Change the fill of the rectangle to something else, and then just figure out what this border radius is. Copy this, click here, and paste it here, and that way these will sort of fit together, okay, if you wanted them to, if you wanted to make like a more compound shape like that. All right, so I think that's a good trick, because sometimes rounded rectangles are a little bit more pleasing to the eye than just normal rectangles. Okay, so right now I want to explain to you how we are going to do the next assignment. So the next assignment is actually going to carry us across 3 or 4 lessons. So we're going to start something, then you're going to upload it to get credit for that lesson, then you will download it to continue to work on it for the next lesson, and upload the new thing as you go. So I will explain it a little bit more. So here you're going to open up your own file. You want to make this the letter size, which is 8.5 inches by 11 inches. So if I create new, it's going to ask me, I can actually put it in here. You can say inches, and you want not A4, that's slightly different than letter size, 8.5 inches by 11 inches. And the orientation needs to be actually landscape. So that makes the 11 inches horizontal, not vertical. So we're going to create. Alright, so here is what we're going to do. We are going to be creating a cityscape. Okay, so we're going to add things into our document that make it look like looking at a city, like all the buildings, and I'll show you some examples in just a second. So the first thing that you want to do is grab the rectangle tool and add like a ground here. Okay, so click and drag across. You are just going to be adding a ground. Now tomorrow's lesson is going to be on color. Okay, so you might want to save the color, adding the color for tomorrow. So if you did want to add color right now, you can just click here, double click on this while that's selected, and then just add a color like that. Nope. Actually, once you pull it here, I found that you actually have to take this finder here, and then that will add color. But you can also save that for tomorrow. Okay, today is just about shapes. So if you would like to or what you have to do today for the assignment is just add all the shapes of your city. So you're going to add a bunch of things. There's buildings and cities. Some of the buildings have triangular tops. So if I go 3 like that, I can add triangular tops to it. I can copy and paste and kind of modify it to make a triangle a little bit different. Okay, so I can add all. You're gonna fill this with shapes. I am going to show you later on to how to add shapes in the background so that you can see a bunch of layers here. But what I want you to do for this assignment is just fill this space with a bunch of shapes. Okay, so your city can look like this. Your city can be a block of like houses if you want, and you can add the windows into it. Like, it's really easy to add windows if you just kind of start here. If you just add them like this, and then if you click and then hold down shift and click again, it will select both of them, and then you can copy and paste and you get 2 more windows, and you can orient them and then hold that down, keep those selected, hit shift and grab all 4 of them and copy and paste the block of 4. So in that way you can kind of quickly add a bunch of windows. See how now I can do 8 sort of exponentially double. So there's a bunch of windows on this building. So add all the shapes in, and then tomorrow we're going to work on the color. Now when you are ready to pass this in, you're going to actually keep it as an Adobe Illustrator file. So you're going to go File, Save, and you're going to call this Cityscape Project, and then your name. So I would say C or Krista Quint or Dr. Quint or whatever. You're going to say your first and last name here, and save it in a place where you can find it here. So you're going to save it, and then you are going to, this is okay, all of those are okay. and then you're going to attach it to your assignment. Okay, so the credit that I'm going to give you, the formative credit, is going to be for lesson 3, and I'm just looking for shapes. When you do the next assignment on Wednesday, you are going to download this file or just open it up on your computer, continue to edit it, and when you are finished, you're going to upload that file for lesson 4. And lesson 4, I'm not looking for shape, I'm looking for color. So, and I will explain that to you, or sorry, lesson 5 it would be. I will explain that to you in lesson 5 when we go over color. Okay? You're going to do the same thing for Grab It, except Grab It, I want you to share the share link. Okay? So, you are going to start a new file. So paper size, you can click here, 8.5 by 11. And you actually want to orient it the other way, rotate canvas. Okay, and then you're just going to click and drag and add all the shapes in, just like the way I showed you in Adobe Illustrator. And what I want you to do is, I've signed in here, so you want to go File, Save, okay, and we are going to call this Cityscape Project, and then your name, like that. Okay, and I want you to pass in this share link, and that way I can look at it that way. Okay, and I'll be able to grade it that way. So you want to make sure the sharing is on. You're going to copy that. You're going to pass that link in. That's a little bit easier for me. And then finally, I want to show you some examples of. Some things, some projects from the past. So this is a project I made in the past with all the windows. I can show you how to do a gradient on the background here and a gradient on the windows. These are layers that I put in the back. I can show you how to do that a little bit later. Here is another student that I had a few years ago. This person graduated last year. So here are some examples of projects that students made. They're actually like a little bit better than my project. Like this one's pretty advanced. But just to give you some inspiration, I just want some complexity in your. So notice this isn't a cityscape, but this is complex enough for me to be able to grade, because he's added a number of shapes. He's added advanced color technique. So, I would like you to add a few buildings though. So, all right. That's enough explanation for today. Have fun.